Easy. Best matchup for a lot of reasons. Humans versus bugs. Starship Trooper, classic matchup. And really it's just humans doing what they do best, fighting for survival, growing, innovating, creating inventions. A lot of them for war, let's be honest, but nonetheless, innovations and inventions. So we've got the scout coming down from Nitrous. He's going around checking all those points around the base, looking for any hidden tech, what the speed of the pool might be, or anything like that. So just typical.
They say it's not running. They say it's not live.
Are we live on YouTube?
Come here.
Yeah, that's.
I didn't have to do this.
It's because he went in and started clicking a bunch of buttons.
Yes.
No, I didn't. That was
I
always.
didn't have to do that last week.
All right,
Okay,
so
we're live. So bear with us. We're welcome to the stream. Some technical difficulties, but now we are here with you. I am Big Tosano, and I'm joined by Eagle Searcher, and we're gonna just catch you up to where we are in the game. So this is game 1 of Amazon Painforest versus Red Hat Hatlings in the CEA Spring 2020 Week 2, and first game of the day, of course, TVZ, Terran player from Red Hat Nitrous, Zerg player from Amazon Painforest, named Mr. November. So we've got a fairly typical opening, and why don't you take it away, Eagle? Let us know what's going on.
All right, so in our matchup here in the TVZ, looks like Nitrous started with a quick expand on the low ground, getting a tank out to defend. A couple of quick Zerglings just poking in from Mr. November, getting some scouting information, probably not looking to do a whole lot of damage. When that tank comes out, though, he'll be able to defend fairly easily. Mr. November doing the very quick third base, though, here on Nightshade. It's a pretty safe expansion, able to defend that pretty easily, especially knowing that Nitrous hasn't been able to populate his own natural, probably feeling very safe so far. Nothing too crazy coming out at him. Of course, this is week 2 of the CEA, Corporate Esports Association season. It's a charity event between corporate entities in all across the world. Today, Red Hat and Amazon fighting it out for the chance to take home the win at the end of the season. There'll be a short playoff, and the winner at the end of the day takes all the goods and hands them to the charity of their choice. So we're here for fun and or profit, in a charitable sense, of course.
Exactly. You can have fun and make profit. So there's, we should mention there's a bit of a rank difference in these two players. So that may influence what type of gameplay we see or what type of strategies we see. We don't know. It might not. But Mr. November is certainly a higher ranked player. I'm curious to see what Nitrous is going to do in terms of his macro play. Is he going to get aggressive faster or not? He's doing a fairly, as you mentioned, a fairly standard opener for now.
Looks mech focused, getting those Hellions out to supplement that tank. Of course, Mr. November, a GM player against Nitrous, who we'll softly say he isn't. But they do know that the format of our CEA league here, lineups are posted about midweek, so players do have an opportunity to scout out their opponents, find replays, figure out what their opponent likes to do. It looks like Mr. November does have the Roach Den down, and is getting his lair as well as an Evo chamber. So just looking to power up into that mid game. Hasn't gotten a whole lot of units yet, but is holding a strong supply lead, coming out way ahead in the worker count. Of course, Terran usually struggles to keep up with the workers, but does have quite a few tanks at home, is looking pretty beefy. If Mr. November did try to pull something anytime too soon, doesn't look like he wants to, though, because he's going ahead and dropping that fourth base, just looking to get more and more ahead in the economy.
For sure. We do have Blue Flame being researched. We got some Thors in production, so yeah, this is as you said, a full mech build. I I love to see some TVZ mech. Lots of things to burn, lots of things to blow up by the Zergs and Banelings. Some fun stuff. So, taking his third, and it's all pretty normal. So why is the TVZ matchup the greatest matchup in all of StarCraft?
Well, it's that classic storyline. The bugs versus the humans. This is Starship Troopers. I hate to say 2.0 because StarCraft predates Starship Troopers.
Yes, it does.
So this is it's just a classic sci-fi story, and there's something very primal about tank shells taking out a load of bugs. We hope to see a lot of that today.
That's right.
We do see Mr. November starting to knock down that wall. It's going to give him a lot of mobility to just be able to move around the map very quickly. His creep spread looking very frightening. Already halfway across the map. Had all those queens out there to get as much creep down as possible. Knocking down that last set of rocks. You see Nitrous has built him a supply depot wall. Hopefully buys him a little bit of time. It's going to continue to wall off his with those buildings. And hopefully delay the swarm as long as he can.
There's only so long you can delay the swarm because the swarm is coming for you. So, and yeah, this creep spread is pretty insane. And he does have some swarm hosts already. With
that, missile attacks just finished, so it now would probably be a good timing if Mr. November has timed this out, wants to start poking. He may just use the swarm host. That is a lot of swarm hosts.
Yes, it is. So
that's going to be difficult for the mech to deal with. Luckily, he's got those Hellbats ready to go, but as soon as those roaches and lings start flooding in, it's just going to be a lot of units for him to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it's not looking so great for Nitrous, but he's getting some more units in position, getting his Thors on the high ground. That is what he wants. As soon as that wave is cleared, of course, that's when you want to go in because there is that cooldown between those attacks. So he did save a few as sort of defensive units there. Smart move by the Zerg player. But it looks like the battle has subsided for a little while. If you look at that supply, though, wow, it does not look good.
It is looking rough. Mr. November macroing like a madman, just getting so crazy on the economy and able to churn out units. And Nitrous, a little bit on the slow side. Those mech units take a little bit to build, and they're beefy. But when they fall, it's hard to get those numbers back up, especially those Thors. So this might be the decisive battle here. This is pretty much everything that Nitrous has left. If he loses this base, it's going to be a difficult climb to try to come back into.
Yeah, for sure. It's when you're being sieged like this, you're put in a spot where you got to make a decision because if you let the swarm host player dictate the pace of the game, it just sort of turns out like this. So now he's of course trapped in his base and really doesn't have many options other than to just try to stay alive. So as soon as that next wave is ready, you're going to be clearing out and headed up to the main base, and that's probably going to be GG. But we'll send Nitrous some hope, and maybe he can get some really favorable trades.
Nitrous, he's just never give up, never surrender. Just probably taking some time to evaluate his game here, figure out what went wrong, try to figure out where his mistakes were, and use those as for his next match next week. So the Amazon Painforest taking game number 1 to open the series 1-0 in our best of 5. So what do you think about that game, Big Toe? What do you think that Nitrous could have done maybe to turn the tide in his favor a little bit?
Yeah, I mean when you have such a pretty strong difference in the players' rank, if we're being honest, so he really played his best. We can't say anything different really, but it's just I was thinking and maybe in terms of something different, as you said, that he'd go for a cheeky build, something cheesy, maybe either a proxy barracks a couple of rush or a Banshee BC rush, something to just maybe take Mr. November caught off guard.
Well, I think one of the things you're hinting at there is that it was a very passive build. It was very much sit back and macro up, and I think Mr. November recognized what Nitrous was doing in that game, and just sort of beat him to the punch. Just played the ultimate passive he played the ultimate passive in opposition and just macroed up twice as hard. Just had so much army, so much. So much army. Just difficult for Nitrous to punch through. So we'll be going on into our second match here momentarily. Just waiting for the stream to get set up. I'm going to go ahead and set up our players for the next map. Looks like it's going to be Patch, a Terran from Red Hat, going up against Zest is Best, a Protoss from Amazon.
Yep.
So looks like we're going to have a TVP this time, something slightly different.
I can't read that.
A little bit of a different matchup, different unit compositions, different types of matchup here. But once again, we do have a little bit of a differential in our players. Of course, Zest is Best, a current Masters with some history in GM. Much like Mr. November, also a very skilled, highly skilled player, going up against our Terran from Red Hat. Also a very good player, just a really good guy overall.
That's right.
Some of you may recognize Patch. He pretty much drove the channel last year in spring 2019. He was our tech guy, did a fantastic job. We do miss him this year, but wish him the best of luck in taking on his opponents.
Yeah, he wanted to get more time in the ring, so and now he has it, and he certainly has it, I would say, because he's playing a Grandmaster player.
Yes, this is big time for him. We'll see if he's able to maybe do what Nitrous was not able to do and take down the Goliath. That's pretty much a continuous theme of our matchup today, David versus Goliath.
Yeah. It really is. So it's exciting Starcraft is what that means. And, there's something about seeing the two greatest players in the world play. And there's something great about seeing a match that is very much underdog versus favorite. And that's what we're watching right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what Patch decides to do. Terran's got so many builds, and there's just so many tech options.
And they all lose in the end.
And they all struggle in the late game, let's say. But the meta has shifted a bit, and Terrans are winning a little more than they were last year. At least we can say that.
Rip Terran 2019.
Rip Terran 2019. If you're watching Blizzard, help out the Terrans. The players are just almost ready. What can we say about this map? I honestly can't say much about this map. What do we know about it?
It's one of the largest maps. Actually, looking in Patch's favor here, it is slightly Terran favored. According to Liquidpedia, about 53% win rate. So
yeah, and that rush distance of 39 seconds.
It's actually one of the largest maps in the current pool. Maybe that would discourage the cheesy play a little bit, but if Patch is able to take advantage of the terrain, if he wants to, take advantage of those void areas for Banshee play or a BC open, potentially use the high ground, get a lot of tanks, mech style. There's sort of a lot of opportunities on this map for him to do so.
For sure. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But the game has started. So, in game number 2 of the day, we have in the top right corner from Amazon Painforest, it is Zest is Best.
That is arguable. He exists, but his name clearly not true. An honest, upstanding citizen of Starcraft, though. In the lower left corner, wearing the red trunks for Red Hatlings, it's Patch. Trying to take the day for the Terran.
Yeah, the Terran race, it's down. The humans are down, but eventually, as humans become...
Well, Big Toe, I've seen a lot of movies, and at the end of the day, humans have one defining feature, is that they survive.
They always win.
They always win.
I mean,
in the end.
they may lose when you're in that plot arc. They're going to take some hits. They're probably going to lose the battle about midway, 2/3 the way through. But you got to create dramatic tension because that's what movies are all about.
Things are going to look grim before, but it's always darkest before the dawn.
That's right. And so we've all seen the stories. We know how they end. The question is whether Patch today can summon the Michael Bay, the Spielberg, the Jerry Bruckheimer, the greatest action movie directors of all time. Don't forget any of those I said. They're just the greatest. So what's going to happen? And now what we have is a probe scout. So what does that mean?
It means that Zest is going to see everything that Patch is doing. But on the other hand, Patch also has sent his worker across the map. Patch not doing anything terribly aggressive. Has an orbital coming out, one gas, just one barracks. Looks like a fairly normal opening. Although it looks like Zest now wants to go ahead and take his third base. Really relying on that sort of... one of the things that separates higher tier players from lower tier players is their execution. They tend to be very sharp on their timings, understand when they can squeeze in an extra base, just sort of really optimize a lot of their strategy.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you'll there's probably going to be a difference between how much minerals and gas each of these players is floating. You can see it right now a little bit, but like you said, it's just. There's nothing wasted, is the way I'd put it. When a high-level player plays, there's no time wasted, there's no resources wasted, there's no army movement wasted. It's all for a reason.
And it does look like Patch is going into sort of a heavy bio play, getting that natural going as well as 2 additional racks. Going to get a lot of Marines, but what is this? Zest, looking to be a little cheeky, has his eye on that 4th base already.
Yeah, he's not being shy about expanding, growing his empire here. So clearly a massive economic build. So what that means for the game is if Patch sits back from this point and tries to play normal, it's probably not going to go too well because his opponent literally has his 4th Nexus being worked in while he has just landed his 2nd CC. So
on the other hand, Zest is best. 1 gate right way right now, just getting that Twilight Council. He's able to make 1 army unit at a time, while Patch getting those add-ons on those barracks and adding 2 Engie bays. Well, it looks like he does want to get a little bit aggressive here, but there might be a timing. Zest is best still not dropping any additional production. If Patch were to move across the map, say, in another minute and a half, when 1-1 finishes, that could be a devastating push.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. There is additional scouting coming out from Zest is Best so maybe get an idea. So, when you scout someone's base, okay, so we've got a 5th base. We have a 5th base. It's starting to look a little troll-like, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, Zest is Best deciding he doesn't need to build an army.
He's just, if you build enough probes, they may be able to take out a certain number of Marines.
Is it still a worker rush at 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's a new meta build. So, he is now getting some buildings that produce things other than probes, but you do have Patch, already marching across the map with about 10-12 Marines.
Right.
Stim is finishing, combat shield is being researched, weapons researched, so he's in a pack a punch.
Yeah, 19 Marines against 51 probes. Yes, that's right. 0 army supply for Zest is Best. He has nothing at home to defend, even if he were to put up a shield battery, say, right now. I don't know what it would do. And there's Nexus number 6.
There
He's
you go.
just
So
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Big Toe. The actual victory condition in Starcraft is buildings. If you have buildings remaining, you can stay in the game.
That's
you
right.
haven't lost.
If you boil the game down to its most simple form, the person with buildings at the end wins.
That's correct.
So, you can see his strategy. It may be innovative, is what I call it. So, but you do have a nice fight happening. There's a good choke point for those Marines, and they're going to push forward and start putting down some damage on this pylon. If that pylon goes down, his production is in seriously jeopardy.
Yeah, still does have 3 gateways powered. It's running around with those Marines. Not sure what his micro situation is there, but killing a lot of workers. 4 workers going down already. Those Zealots Zealot legs are finished, so they're getting that dash, doing a lot of work on those Marines, able to clean that up. Very good job by Zesta's Best to defend that. That looked very scary, but it looks like Patch may have missed his window by maybe 15, 20 seconds to really get in there and get a lot of damage.
Yeah, he does have the next wave coming in, but there's about a half dozen Zealots moving down to cause some mayhem on that type side of the map. The 7th Nexus is on its way, and this pack of Marines is still poking at the front. He does have a warp in, nicely timed, and they have charge. They are surrounding on both sides. Those Marines are unfortunately dead.
Yeah, that's just a really unfortunate timing there for Patch. Looks like it was a very sharp build. Looked like a really good execution. Just missed his window. I think he got a little too greedy trying to get all those upgrades in when he could have just walked across the map and possibly killed Zest.
Sure. So, I mean, the question is, so we're at 7 minutes. How many Nexuses is he going to have by 10 minutes?
Will the game still be going at 10 minutes is probably a good question. Because these Zealots are now moving into the Terran base, and Patch, who hasn't been powering up his economy, doesn't have as much at home to defend. Is taking the heavy losses with his Marines abroad, and for now the Zealots are just there's another Nexus, but for now the Zealots are just tearing up these depots. Turns out if you don't have depots, it's very hard to build more units. We'll see if Patch can pull a miracle out and defend.
So yeah, he's pulling back. The battle is slowed down, but Patch is, of course, in a very difficult position. The soup, as Todd says, does not lie, and so you have more than double, obviously. So it's a tough situation for Patch. Is he building another? So is he building a macro Nexus?
That's a macro Nexus.
Macro Nexus. So it's a new meta. So if you want to have a ton of energy,
those are actually 6 macro Nexuses.
Yeah, I mean,
that way he can chrono every single one of his gateways.
You'd never want to be non-chrono, because if you're chronoing, you can't build probes as fast, which means you can build less Nexuses.
It's actually a really sharp build from Zesta's Best. When you already have 6 Nexuses, when you have 6 bases, you have so much production that it's very hard to say build enough gateways to keep up with it. By having all of that chrono boost, he's able to get a lot more units out
per gateway. Yeah.
Patch is coming in for a drop though, flying directly over all of the bases, and by bases there are so many bases here for Zesta's Best.
To be fair to Patch, you don't expect that path to include Nexuses all around you. So he was headed in to maybe swipe out the 3rd or the main, but he found himself surrounded by Nexuses.
Maybe wasting a time here actually killing the macro Nexuses, as we're calling them. If only this were, say a few patches back, when Nexuses could shoot.
If Nexuses could shoot, it would be some serious damage being laid down there. Of course, you need that mothership core to be back.
I think everybody agrees Heart of the Swarm was the best era in StarCraft 2.
It sure was. Can you bring us back to that? Said no one ever. So, Patch does have this army, and it is scouted by yet another probe on its way to most likely build a Nexus.
Maybe even in Patch's base. That would be bold. That actually looks like a probe train.
That is not in one probe.
Does actually come in for the 10-minute worker rush. Is Patch prepared for this? I'm not sure any of us are. That is a lot of zapping going on, and that is, if I had to say, all of those macro Nexuses, there is one thing they're very good at, and that's building a lot of probes. Does have 170 workers?
I can't remember the last time I've seen a siege tank pop out of a factory and be immediately surrounded by about 40 probes.
I'll point out, Zest currently sitting on 0 army supply. Normally, you'd consider this a poor position to be in, but with 155 supply in workers, he can probably macro behind this.
Yeah, he is about to have. We're about to have 50 probes killed. So that's something.
I'm surprised that we're not actually breaking the UI. Now, that's going to be a bad day for those probes to get in that splash to that tank. Big explosion of probes there, just driving the count up. Meanwhile, this bio army, all of a sudden, looks like Patch may have a shot here. Zest may have gotten a little too cocky with his worker play. 128 workers now down, crossing 130. I have never seen this many workers killed in such a short amount of time, Big Toe.
I can't say I have either. This is it's just something. It is something. And so, Zest's Best, of course, has a large resource bank. It is going down. He does have 100 probes right now and some zealots that are marched around.
Down from 170. So,
Yeah,
usually
tough.
98 is considered a little high. Actually, looking at the units lost, Zest's Best has taken heavy hits. For all that extra economy, has lost considerably more resources, but now coming in with just zealots, able to clean up most of the bioforces. Looks like Zest's Best is stabilizing a little bit. Meanwhile, the hit squad continuing to take out some of these Nexi, and to be fair, there are a lot of Nexi to go around.
Yeah, you don't often get to say Nexi, but in this case, it really does make sense because there are just multiple nexuses, macro nexuses we've already established. So we've got some just shenanigans down there, as we can see. But what sort of army do these players have left?
186 workers now currently killed, as the counter is telling us, but sitting 122 actively. I'd like to point out that is 300 workers created in this game for Zest's Best. This might be a new record.
I would think so. That's probably what he's going for. And we do have this, what looks like the final big push. And they weren't mining, as you can see. So there's not mining to happen. It is all about war. And this tank is in a very good spot. A little pack of bio there. So it is going to be hard to close out that ramp with just the units he has. However, we will see.
He can make more. I mean, he has the nexuses to just build an army of probes, just cycle through. That's really what that macro is all about. Get all of the minerals and then take the boys and push them across the map. Just basic StarCraft here. And another point, if your army is all probes and you start to lose buildings, you have workers to build more buildings. It's a very self-sustaining strategy.
That's right. It all comes down to buildings, as we established earlier. That's what StarCraft is about. People don't know, but it's a building simulator, pretty much. So, the visuals speak for themselves here. So, you have a probe surround on a CC. Of course, they can lift. And,
does lift a CC, but still burning.
It is burning, so the probes may have won that fight. I don't see that building getting repaired anytime soon. It is a very dangerous area to be entering. And
there's the GG. Patch deciding he's had enough of the worker harass. That was an interesting game there, Big Toe.
I think that was StarCraft.
It looked like StarCraft to me.
Yeah, I think. But we're gonna assume it was, because that's what we have to do. So this is a 2-0 now for Amazon Painforest against Red Hat.
Yeah, good start for Amazon. The first game I thought was pretty good. It was sort of what you would expect out of a slight mismatch in rankings. With Mr. November sort of creating a small advantage that grew over time against Nitrous. Zest's Best going for a very different strategy. Really opting sort of, there are strategies that involve, say, making lots and lots of Tier 1 units, lots of Zerglings, lots of Marines, lots of Zealots. Zest's Best saying no. Hold my beer, I'm only making workers. And just deciding to win the game with that.
If you create enough of them, they're a force. They are a force. So.
And showing us really the creativity of this high level play, understanding that because a bronze level player might say, "Oh, I'm just going to build workers and attack the other player with them," but it takes true high tier intellect to say, if I'm going to build all workers, I need more nexuses.
It certainly does. I'd never put those thoughts together. Maybe
that's why you're not in Masters.
That is the most logical reason. I do agree there. But we got to give it to Patch. The early attack was well executed, and
it was a very good. Actually, I really liked Patch's opening there. It looked like he had a pretty good build to deal with Zest, and Zest, honestly, just very cocky, able to deflect it. Maybe if he had hit with that attack 20 seconds earlier, 30 seconds earlier, really could have ruined Zest's day. Just being that greedy. I think good showing from Patch, despite the troll build from Zest and the outcome. I think maybe Patch can just tighten up a few things. It looks pretty solid to me.
For sure. And so as we move into this third game here between Cyril. Yep.
Cyril.
It's pronounced Cyril, though. So he is a European player. We don't know if he's from Finland. We'll just go out on a limb and say he is, but
he's not from Finland.
Dang it, Eagle. So the CEA cannot afford. We did reach out to Cyril. He was a bit busy. He's returning home from Poland.
Most importantly, actually, that in the CEA, you need to actually work full time for the company that you're representing. So Cyril, not an employee of Red Hat, but they do have an employee with the tag Cyril.
Yeah.
So
and if you squint your eyes just right, you might think you're playing Cyril.
But all that aside, we're going into the game now, starting in the lower right corner, sporting the green trunks for the Red Hatlings. We have the man we've been talking about for the last 5 minutes, Cyril.
That's right. And in the top left of the screen, we have a player from Amazon Painforest, Tejo. And so we've got a PVZ here. And, we should point out that this match of the day is the first one that's a little bit closer in terms of player rank.
We do have a diamond on a diamond.
We have diamond on diamond.
This is it's a pretty close matchup, and to be fair, Amazon Painforest currently sitting on match point in our best of 5. So Tejo looking to close this out for Amazon, while Cyril looking to start the comeback. We'll see if Red Hat could get a reverse sweep. Can you tell us anything about this map, Ephemeron?
What I can tell you is that the rush distance is 35 seconds. And, no joke though, Zerg is slightly favored on this map. And it's actually the last 2 maps of the day here. So, we have pretty normal things going on now. The full scout, checking the timing of the pool, when the extractor goes up, all the kind of typical things as Tejo sets up his Nexus second base. He's going to do what most common in this matchup is a full wall outside the natural, which looks like he's getting prepared to do. He'll add his Cyber Core and add something in between and a Zealot. So yeah, pretty standard opening, nothing too crazy. With the Zerg, it's really usually a question of when the third base goes down. That's the most important thing the Protoss player is looking for, because that signifies early aggression or economic build.
Yeah, and on this map, it's such a wide open map, and that's tends to be where the Zerg favoring comes in, is you just have so much mobility, able to move around so much. It's just hard to defend those bases. That's why the full wall is necessary from the Protoss. But we'll see what Cyril decides to do, whether he wants to stay open with some 2-base aggression. He's getting speed along with his first handful of Lings. But while Tejo starting on the Adepts, getting Warp Gate out, probably just wants to poke in, see what he can do, see if he can decide, if he wants to move up to his third base or not. But looks like Cyril moving the drone over for the third base now, so he is getting that started. So we are looking to go to 3-base economy for the Zerg, sort of a favorable position. Zerg generally wants to be 1 base up on their opponents, just to get that sort of massive swarm type of gameplay going. But we are going to get the Adept moving across the map now. Going to start throwing those shades out.
The Adept, of course, really common to see, particularly in this matchup, actually, because 2 Adepts do one-shot a drone. He does have just 1, of course, so it's really just to scout. But it tells the player a lot, especially, good players can read a lot. It's not just about what you see, it's about what you don't see. and that's the amount of drones, the amount of gas, the amount of creep spread, the amount of queens. It really tells you where players are putting their resources and attention, and then that tells you a lot. So we do have an immortal being built, which of course is a great counter for roaches. So yeah, we'll sort of see how this develops.
Yeah, as well as the Twilight Council getting a couple extra gateways as well. So I like the use of that Adept there. Just using it for scouting information. Very similar to, say, how Terrans will use their first Reaper. Get in the base, see what's going on. It's just a very good way to use that information. But decides not to shade out with the Adept that time and loses it to the Lings. We do see the Lair coming out for Cyril. But the Warp Prism is now going to come out to support that Immortal. I do like getting that Immortal out before the Warp Prism. Just making sure, just having that defense at home.
Yeah, it's always a nice move, just in case there is an attack that he didn't expect. Why not have the Immortal there? So, and as he gets that second one, the Warp Prism, no surprise what the likely move is to take that out and start doing that harass with those two Immortals. And as he really ramps up his production, what are those there? Are those gateways we're looking at? Those are gateways. So, yeah, he's not going to be taking a third base before building an army. Let's just say that. So we're likely to see some action soon.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with these two chunky boys in that Warp Prism. He does have Zealot legs on the way, so probably wants to time this out, get the two chunky boys across the map, warp in around the Zealots when all those gateways come out. This is a very tight timing from Tejo, actually. That's really impressive.
Yeah, it is. He does have a bit of a mineral bank, but he's spending that down now. So yeah, the question is, how early does Cyril realize that this is coming? Because as soon as all that production comes online, it's going to happen real fast. He's going to have to react very fast. He only has a couple of roaches in production. Roach speed is not even close to being done.
He does currently have the army supply lead, but with that round of Zealots, it's shrinking. Cyril really kind of trying to macro up. If he can defend this, and it looks like he should be in position to defend it. Those speed Zealots really tough though, and those Immortals will annihilate those roaches. But is going to lose the hatch. It's on its last legs. Roaches pull back. Looks like he's willing to sack it to survive here.
Yeah.
More and more Zealots being warped in, and those two Immortals just chucking across the map, just blowing the roaches out of the way.
Yeah, third base going down, of course, puts him in a really tough spot. Tejo's got a nice army and continuing to warp in the back line. You can see the key is going to be to navigate fighting those Immortals. And if you can get a Ravager shot on the Warp Prism, that is what Cyril is going to try to do as well, because that's also key.
Just missing there with the Ravager shots. He really needs to be able to shut down that Warp Prism, because he's able to move those Immortals around so much. One of those Immortals almost down, continuing to warp in more Zealots. This is a really strong push from Tejo here. So many Zealots with the Zealot legs and two Immortals. I'm not sure what it's going to take for Cyril to stop this. He does have the spine set up at the front, but the Immortal makes short work of that.
Yeah, a nice unit position from Cyril is definitely helping, getting that full concave wall of roaches and queens. But as you said, the defenses are down in the front. He may have to pull the drones here, because this is not looking good.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the follow-up here is. This is an attempt at a killing strike from Tejo. Isn't building anything at home, just warping in more and more Zealots. Keep in mind, every 4 Zealots he warps in means that's a base that he's not building.
That's right. So now, going for that Warp Prism shot does almost kill. One more Ravager shot will kill that Warp Prism, by the way. So it's really a clever balance. Cyril is getting a major force. Only the Immortals left. It looks like he's going to push it back. Mortal goes in. Oh, just barely misses the bile. But you know what? Tejo has been ejected. He said, "Get the heck out of here. The game's going on."
Really good defense from Cyril there. Did I think made the correct decision to sack his third. Doesn't realize it yet. But Protoss himself hasn't expanded. That was a really aggressive push. So much money dumped into those Zealots that the Roaches were able to take care of. Maybe a couple more Immortals on the front lines would have changed the game, but just wasn't in the cards for him. is going to open up this ramp so he can get a better concave with those roaches. Just superior number of units. Cyril now doubling the army supply for Tejo. He survived, and now it's his time to counter.
Yeah, you can just see the difference in army supply. It's huge, and this is looking really good for Cyril. The Biles come out, landed a couple on the Immortal. He's going to juggle these Immortals as best he can, and that's really his only shot at surviving, if there even is one. That Warp Prism is under fire. Got a Warp in at the bottom, but this just does not look like enough from Tejo.
No, it doesn't, and his army supply quickly diminishing. You're seeing now Cyril now doubling in the overall supply. 69 army supply to 6, and Tejo taps out. Is this the start of a comeback for Red Hat?
You know, you could say it looks that way. And you're certain that was not Cyril playing.
It looked pretty good. That was a very good defense. I thought it was very strong decision making. Talking again about our mismatches in player tiers, one of the things that high tier players are very good at is decision making, and committing to it. Cyril very early on realized he didn't have enough to defend, backed up to his second base, continued to build up a number of roaches, didn't let his roaches die. And was able to eventually mass up enough to stop the massive zealots coming in.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to be a bit unprepared, and he certainly was because he lost his third in the beginning. But as he said, he reacted very well to the aggression. Got really nice positioning of spines and queens and roaches at the front, and Tejo just could not break that natural expansion. So. Once that evened out, of course, Defender's Advantage starts to kick in, and he really just had his unit flood in a more numbers, and it worked out. He pushed him back, and Tejo was not prepared for the follow up because he was all in.
I'm wondering if Tejo had maybe tried to move to the high ground, given that on Ephemeron you do have that sort of large surface area at the front of the main that he could maybe elevator up, get the Immortals in, and sort of change the. He was very committed to attacking that choke right there in front of the natural. If he had maybe changed the attack surface, especially with those zealots, you don't want to let the roaches get the concave.
Yeah, exactly. The army comp he had, which was predominantly zealots, of course, by the numbers, and as you said, the battlefield was not good for him, and it affected the outcome for sure. But on we go to Game 4, and so. We have Zip from Red Hat Hatlings, so another Zerg player, going to be going up against
Kisa.
So Kisa from Amazon Painforest, and who is a Protoss player. So we have a ZVP once again for Game 4, and it's going to be on World of Sleepers. What can you tell us about World of Sleepers?
World of Sleepers, sort of a medium-sized map. A little bit Zerg favored again. It does have sort of a lot of open area, a lot of room for the Zerg to expand, really take advantage of macro, as well as just sort of favoring Zerg sort of style map control. So we'll see if Zip is able to hold it off. It looks like Zip, Diamond player, and Kisa, if I'm not mistaken, looks to be Grandmaster border? Or is that gold?
This is a good question. We're about to find out. But nonetheless,
it looks gold. Much difference in those two ranks. So it looks like the tables have kind of turned on Amazon Painforest here. Potentially, and based on our experience, one of the better players on the Red Hatlings now sort of going up against the lower tier for Amazon.
I mean, yeah, you might say that it looks pretty likely that Red Hat will have a good game, but we just don't know.
Well, you can't rule out.
You can never rule out
everything that we said earlier about David and Goliath and cheeky builds, and anybody can win in a best of one series.
That second game showed me everything I know about Starcraft is no longer valid. So we really just have to have a big reset after that.
I disagree. I believe everything about StarCraft is true, and Zest just showed us how true it is.
That is one way to look at things. Yep, that is one way.
But we are starting now in our game number 4. Zip hoping to hold the line for Red Hat, continue the reverse sweep, and starting in the lower left, Zip himself, the Red Zerg from Red Hatlings.
And in the top right corner, we have playing from Amazon Painforest. It is Kisa.
Sporting the orange colors. We do see Red Hat usually taking the red color, and
I mean, naturally.
Maybe a little surprised we haven't seen more orange from Amazon.
Yep. I mean, I guess they're more of a light blue, Amazon logo.
That is true. Amazon Prime has that
Prime.
sort of branding, but I'd say core Amazon.
Core Amazon, yeah.
Classic Amazon.
Amazon. I mean, yeah.
A little bit
Sun,
more of an
rainforest.
Yeah.
Come on.
Painforest even.
The Painforest. That's right. We're not in the rainforest. We are unfortunately in the Painforest.
Of course,
you do not want to be there.
One of the underrated features of CEA, of course, are our terrific team names. Amazon Painforest, just a great example.
That's right. And as the players are getting ready, and there's not too much to talk about gameplay-wise, I just want to give a shout-out to our cameraman and behind-the-scenes guru, Damn Glam. Give us a shake of the camera here, Damn Glam. Give us something. Okay, there he goes. So we want
doing such a good job that he's not paying us any mind,
he is
as
focused.
he should be.
He is focused on the game. He wants to see the action. So, what we've got, we have a pretty typical opening. Pool coming down, of course. Expansions from both players. This map has a fairly large opening to the natural, so the Protoss does have a bit more work to do to create that wall.
Yeah.
As someone that plays Protoss sometimes, it's a bit annoying. So
yeah, that large surface area is really what gives the Zerg its favor. One of the largest, in terms of map matchups. This is Zerg is favored, according to Wikipedia, 54%, which is a pretty large disparity when you look at a lot of these maps. Blizzard does I think everyone would give Blizzard a hand in their balance. All three races are perfectly matched on every map, but apparently World of Sleepers maybe a little bit off.
you might say it's a little bit off. Yeah, but hey, that creates opportunities in different places. But what we do have is four little killers moving across the map, looking to see what they can do. So
I disagree with calling them killers. They're probably just going over there for hugs.
Yeah, when you don't have ultras yet, something's got to give the hugs.
Right.
So,
Zerglings just want hugs. I mean, they come over there with their cute puppy dog eyes, and they just want to play.
In fact, the Stalker's just like, hey, I'm just trying to move this Overlord out. I don't want anything to do with you. But wow, he did pull the probes. He was concerned about closing that wall off. But fortunately for Kisa, the Lings were just on a scouting mission. Eagle was right. They were just kind of there to say hi, welcome to the neighborhood. I might be back. I might not. You just have to figure it out.
The question is this a good welcoming party, the type where they show up with a basket full of sweets and goodies, or is it the HOA showing up to collect their dues?
Telling you about the damn color, your paint is wrong, or something like that. But the important part is the Overlord has survived and reached its favored location, the place all Overlords seek to be, and that is the Perv Perch.
Of course, the Perv Perch allowing him to spy on his opponent. Oh, but apparently not. With the Observer out, able to poke his way into the Perv Perch himself and, get a little laser bolt up there if you know what I'm talking about.
That's the HSA if I've ever seen it. Hey, what you doing up there? So the Lings do get us around on this Stalker. Speed is done. That Stalker had no chance of surviving. The good news is there are 3 more back at the base and a Warp Prism on its way. So these scouting party of Lings are going to see what he's got going on, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I do like this Observer from Kisa. Just, as a lower level player, sometimes it can be a little hard to understand what the opponent is doing. So getting that Observer out there just gives him a lot more information, allows him more time to react to what Zip might pull out. But these Lings doing a lot of damage. There just wasn't a lot of army here to defend for Kisa. The wall was not closed, having to pull the boys to start repairing.
And even attacking their...
I think they're confused.
Own structure. It's not what he wanted, but he is
so
trying.
in this case, really the Ling's doing him a favor. Doesn't want the probes killing that killing that Robo,
I mean, these Lings are good neighbors. I mean, I gotta say, they're defending the base of Kiva. I mean, for the most part.
like a good neighbor, Zip's Lings are there.
It's just too easy. It's just too easy. So
but does get the kill on the pylon just before the Immortal can come out, probably saving him just a little bit of embarrassment as those big guns not super effective against the Flood of Lings.
No. Yeah, in fact, all the units he built this game are not good against Lings, unfortunately. This probe is going to get scouted as he probably seeks to build this third Nexus. Not going to happen, at least now. Yeah, so what Kiva, of course, wants is a unit that trades better against what Zip is building, and that would have been Zealots, but he is now transitioning, as we can see.
But is going up to 4 base, puts Zip in a very comfortable position economic-wise, just able to get so much more economy. Kisa did have that natural, but was really late in saturating it. Still hasn't saturated it. Zip taking a page out of Zest's book, building macro bases.
Yeah, I mean...
However, of course, in the case of the Zerg, a little bit more effective.
See, slightly more effective. They can build, 1 or 2 more units out of those than the Protoss can.
But I think Zest proved us you don't need anything other than workers.
Exactly. I mean, when you are best, you can do things a bit differently. So yeah, he is. Kisa is trying to kind of stabilize and get his footing in this game. He is sending out this observer, as we can see, to kind of find out what's going on, get some intel, find out what his neighbor is up to, when that barbecue is, and when maybe there's going to be back in town to say hello again.
But Kisa doubling down, win behind Dark Shrine. He understands how to come back as a Protoss. We'll see if it works. Not a lot of detection for Zip at the moment. Doesn't have any Overseer. Or he has 1 Overseer. Moving across the map right now. But if that Dark Shrine can get behind enemy lines and start taking out some workers, that might be what Kisa needs. But his window is quickly closing as the army now moving across the map. Just doesn't have a lot of army. Might lose that Warp Prism too. He's just hanging out. The Ravager shots coming down on that pylon going to shut down all the production for Protoss once again, and I think Kisa needs a miracle here.
The DT Shrine did just finish, so they are capable of miracles. However, there is an Overseer present, and I don't think we're going to be seeing one today. So there's the GG. That will close out game number 4 and tie up the series. Red Hat Amazon 2-2, and so we are going to an ace match. And the fun part there is, all we know about that is the map. We do not know who the teams are going to field, and so all we can tell you is the map is going to be
Simulacrum.
Simulacrum. I did not know how to say that. Thank you, Eagle, for jumping in. What a ridiculous name. But regardless, we are at an ace match, and that is exciting, and that is what everyone wants to see, including us.
Just for our viewers at home, the organization of CEA, of course, we do submit lineups for the first 4 games, so players have a chance to scout out who their opponent will be, what map they're going to play on. But that's only for the first 4 maps. Game 5, completely Wild West. We don't know who's going to happen. What's going to happen now as we wait for the last game to get set up? Both teams will secretly submit their ace to a neutral third-party observer. The third party will come back, present the 2 aces, and they will now go head-to-head on this final map to take the glory, to take the win. And I'm excited. Who do you think we're going to see in this final map, Big Toe?
I think we're going to see either Zip is warm. He did just play, so I think we're either going to see him or Cyril, Zerg player. There are 2 players that won today. Not that we won't be surprised. There are several other players on the Red Hat roster. So I wouldn't mind seeing a non-mirror again. Always fun to watch. But that's fairly likely with these lineups. So those are my guesses. What do you think?
Yeah, so, and then on Painforest, we saw some pretty dominant games from Mr. November, Zest his best. Certainly on paper, both of them with GM histories clearly look like the aces for Amazon. But I think the thing to can't overlook here, Zip also has Masters in his history.
That's right. Don't be fooled by the Diamond Barrier. There is history there. So What do you think, Damn Glam? Chiming in. What's your prediction?
Red Hat. We'll see.
We got a Red Hat prediction in here.
All right.
I'm biased.
We're biased on the stream. We don't have to really be dishonest about that. This is a Red Hat Hatlings stream.
I will point out. This got cut off due to technical difficulties. There is a little bit of history between these two teams. They matched up in Week 8 of the spring 2019 season. Painforest won that game by a score of 3-2. So not our first ace match in this series. Certainly a history of these two teams duking it out. Really, getting good series, just going the distance.
That's right. And so here we are once again at the distance. Gone the distance once again. And pretty early in the season too. So nice to have an ace match. And actually Red Hat went to 5 games last week as well. And won that series.
That's right. That was a 3-2 victory over Eagleview SC2. Amazon last week also taking the victory. Our Swiss format, of course, ensures that we're going to have teams with similar records matching up. But they did win their match over Peloton Zealot Legs 3-1.
That's right. Nice names. Good names by these teams. Creative uses of their company name. Zealot Legs, Painforest, Hatlings. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, just
branding. Some
excellent names. It's not technically branding.
True.
True. This is we're trying to fly under the radar a little bit.
I mean, we're not helping with that.
We don't want to officially connect ourselves to corporate brands. They work very hard to protect those, and they have teams of lawyers willing to sue us out of streaming forever.
That's right. And SCTuesdays does not yet have legal counsel, so if you were listening and you are someone who could provide legal counsel, please do reach out in the stream chat.
But more importantly, if you enjoy playing Starcraft, that's probably a better use of your time. It's come hang out with us, play some Starcraft. We're here every Tuesday. We're here every Saturday. We're here most nights.
Yeah, frankly, this is most of what we do. So, ace match. Once again, we...
Okay, well, this is interesting, Big Toe. It looks like the ace match is now set up. It looks like Red Hat did decide to go with Zip for their ace, but we have a new challenger approaching for the Amazon Painforest. It is none other than the Salt.
The Salt Master himself.
The captain of Amazon Painforest, Sodium Chloride.
Nicely done. I was going to say here to sprinkle in the win for Amazon Painforest, but, either one works. And so yeah, we're going to have an interesting matchup for our final match, another ZVP. It'll be our third one of the day, I believe. But a good matchup, not a mirror either, got to appreciate that. But in the top left corner for Red Hat, we have the player Zip.
And in the bottom right, our new challenger, a player we haven't seen yet today. Maybe we'll see what kind of interesting build he pulls out. It is an ACL.
That's right.
Who I think we'll refer to as Salt. For those of you, NaCl, the molecule that makes up table salt.
Yeah. You may be fans of chemistry. You may be fans of Breaking Bad like me. Either way, the important part is here, Zerg vs. Protoss, last match of the day. We'll see how this works out. And we're starting off with something that maybe his name would have clued us in on. And that is a very aggressively placed pylon and a probe that is continuing his journey around.
I will point out that as that Overlord moves across the map to scout, there's a high probability that he sees the pylon.
That is correct.
Now, our observer, of course, Dan Glam, our resident cannon rushing expert, would you care to make a comment on attempting to cannon rush a Zerg?
It's tough, but he's going with Gateway with a cannon in front. So, very hard to pick that off. We'll see how fast the Lings come out, but I think Zip will have it here.
All right, thanks
Okay.
for that analysis. As always, our man Dan Blam on the sidelines coming in. Did get the cannon, or did get the gas steal, so that's going to limit Zip's options here in terms of how much gas he can collect. But depending on his build, he may not have needed it this early anyway. Double cannoning that gap there. Plenty of room to run around, but it's just going to be very annoying type of contain build coming out from Salt.
Yeah, this is looking dangerous. Zip is reacting pretty well. He's got Lings in production, of course. Spine crawlers, you mentioned. Roach Warren going down. Roaches are very good and tanky against cannons.
I think ideally, though, he really wants to get the Ravagers out.
Yeah.
I believe it's two shots from the Ravager to take down a cannon.
I think it's 3.
It could be
wrong.
3.
Yeah, for sure. The Ravager is, of course, the counter. They can be out of range of the cannons and fire uninhibited.
I'll also point out it was a very sharp timing from Salt there, getting the cannons down when he knew the hatch wouldn't be finished before the creep comes out. Obviously, in a position he can't build any more cannons forward, but now just pummeling that hatch, it looks like it's going to go down.
That's right, and that Cyber Core is getting on its way, and of course what that's going to enable him to do is build some shield batteries, which are going to make this attack even stronger and harder to break.
Well, I was going to suggest that he could build Warp Gate and start putting army units behind it, but
Hey.
shield batteries also pretty good. Problem is you can't build shield batteries on creep.
That is true.
Except of course, Salt opting for a different path doesn't go for the shield batteries, goes for the Stargate follow-up.
Okay. Effective build. Of course, Zip is probably not expecting that. He's going to have to pick up these spine crawlers too, because they are going to slowly bleed out when that creep goes away. Clears up the gas in his base. He's going to need to take that and get all he can, because of course a one base Zerg is really not ever what you want to see yourself in. So Zip's going to have to react fast, get his economy on track, and see if he can scout and figure out what this is going to be, because most likely an Oracle, would you say?
I would say, I think we'll find out in just a moment. I would like to point out, though, the worker difference here. Salt, almost 10 workers more than Zip right now. Zip maybe overcommitting to his... does have the Overlord there dropping creep. Very smart move. Does have the layer finished, so... Oh, and that... Do you see what I see? Starting on for Zip is getting the Nidus started. Right. Looks like he's going to return the favor. Does have the Overlord in position. If he did move in just a little bit more, we might see that Void Ray in production.
That's right. So going to be an interesting dynamic here with this Void Ray, and of course this all Zip does not have unit other than a Queen that shoots up. So if he can land this Nidus in the right spot, he can do it at the right time. It is already coming down now, so
and the Void Ray sees it, so it's going to be
to
easily burn it down before it launches. Zip probably questioning some of his life choices right now.
He's not going the way he wanted to. We do have a very oddly placed Nexus, though when you have a wall of cannons at an opponent's natural, not an odd. However, there's another Nidus going down. This one, oh man, is it going to be scouted?
It doesn't look like it. Oh no, he just grazed the edge of it, but it will finish, and it is going to start spitting out roaches. Those queens, it brings a couple queens with them. Those queens will be able to peck away at the. Does decide to transfuse the Nidus. Is going to start poking away at that Void Ray. That Void Ray, 2 queens against a Void Ray. It's favored to the queens, but a second Void Ray is popped out at the front. Roaches and Lings running into that wall. Does have 1 cannon behind it. The cannon and Void Ray and Stalker putting in lots of work.
Yeah, so Zip it looked like he's going to be pulling back. Just narrowly holds that and is a force to GG. Certainly in a bad spot, and I can understand why GG'd. Just didn't work out for Zip this game. Very creative build from Salt, and he got the win for Amazon Painforest.
Yeah, that was a tough loss there for Red Hat. Things were looking up, winning 2 games in a row to bring it back to the ace match, but Salt there with that cannon rush contain I think we'll call it into Stargate.
We got the thumbs up from Damn Glam. Yep, contain.
And then Zip deciding to basically all in, drop everything he was doing, knight us in, but didn't anticipate the Stargate. It's sort of the dagger in the heart.
Yeah, as we can see there from the resource collection that we had up for a minute, the Zerg. You might be wondering if you're watching, if you're learning about Starcraft or whatever. They're both on one base. Why did that turn out maybe the way it did? Well, a Zerg who's on even bases with their opponent who's not Zerg is probably losing. So.
I also think I alluded to it earlier with the worker count.
Yes.
Zip at 15 workers. That is not a fully saturated base. Obviously, he had he lost his natural there. Really wanted to get get his larva into workers, getting more drones, getting that economy going. But with the very aggressive cannon rush, had to start building a lot of army. Didn't have the larva to pump out those workers, and just doubled down on army production. When that Nidus was shut down, that basically was everything he could do. Meanwhile,
exactly.
Salt was able to saturate his base and also build the aggressive nexus across the map. So very prepared for transitioning to the next phase.
Absolutely, and yeah, I mean, we gotta say it was nicely played by Salt. He didn't overcommit. One of the things a lot of players do in that build, he built 3 cannons and a pylon. He didn't build 7 and 5 pylons. He built kind of just as much as he needed, and that was really important because it meant that he equally had just enough at home. You saw how close defending that wall at the front of his main base was. Had he overinvested in the beginning, he probably would have lost the game.
Right. I do think that Zip's army may have been a little smaller than he really wanted. Had already gotten his second Nidus exit out. Just a lot of gas every time you do that. It's a tough situation, but I think Zip came up with something I think very creative to try to break that contain.